So, in ministerial school, they told us that the two most difficult Sundays to give a talk are Mother's Day and when you talk about tithing. Mother's Day was easy. And I don't have a problem talking about tithing. This day feels challenging to me. It feels incredibly challenging. Because what is alive in me is not the standard rah-rah, we're an independent, let's celebrate our independence message. The overall talk title, because CSL, the way this works, CSL puts out the call for people to write suggested talks. And for today, the premise is e pluribus unum, out of many, one. And if I'm being completely honest with you and with myself, that's the biggest lie of our country. We are not one. We're not. We are divided. We say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but not everybody really gets a fair shake at that. We pass laws that discriminate. And probably the most painful thing to me is that even in spiritual communities, we pretend that that's not happening. We talk about our faith tradition being a safe sanctuary for everybody. And the only way that we're going to create safety is through honesty. And honesty is honestly uncomfortable because it challenges beliefs that we've never examined. It challenges assumptions that we were born into. And so I want to be really clear that nothing in today's talk is about guilt and shame or blame, because there's none to be had. And if we approach any discordance from a place of guilt, shame, and blame, we've already lost. Because there's no guilt, shame, and blame in recognizing, wow, I've been walking around with this belief for a long time and there ain't a word of truth in it. That's freedom. I'm reading a book called Will and Spirit. And what he's talking about in this book is how we often get confused between our will and spirit. And then we assign spirit's will. Spirit doesn't have a will for us. Spirit is us. It doesn't have an agenda for us. If Spirit had an agenda for us, it would eliminate this whole concept of free will. And we have absolute free will. Look around us. If we didn't have free will, we wouldn't need laws. And we need them. In this human expression, we need some laws because some people, the most succinctly and accurately I've ever heard it put actually comes out of the Narcotics Anonymous literature, that we have the ability to rationalize the most outrageous sorts of nonsense. That is not exclusive to people with addiction. If we're walking on two legs, we have the ability to rationalize the most outrageous sorts of nonsense. And we call it spirit. And we call it God's message. And we call it truth. And most of the time, there ain't a word of truth in it. And how do we reconcile this stuff? I want to read something to you out of this book, which kind of surprised me. I mean, the timing, you can't make up this kind of synchronicity. This is reading directly from his book, Will and Spirit. On December 3rd, 1775, a naval lieutenant aboard the flagship Alfred raised the flag, the first official American flag. His name was John Paul Jones. And the flag said, "Don't tread on me." This motto represented, for many early Americans, a willingness toward life that required an active resistance against oppression. "Don't tread on me" became an American credo, the standard for rugged individualism, self-determination, and freedom. From the very outset, it was used as a focus of both willingness and willfulness. At its best, it represented the strength and courage of creative liveliness of the pioneer spirit. At its worst, it was a symbol of a new order of oppression. It stood behind the subjugation and annihilation of Native American Indians. It was used to justify slavery, and it led to the destruction of hunting grounds and ecosystems. If we're telling the truth, that's what our country's founded on. And it's still operating today. This divide that we're in right now is evidence that that is changing. It is changing. We as a nation are waking up. And we are waking up to the degree that we're not willing to lie about this anymore. Thank God. Shifting beliefs, in my experience, is uncomfortable. I have never once, and I have shifted a lot of beliefs, but never once have I woken up and went, wow, I've been believing a lie for the last 30 years. How cool. I get to challenge every bit of that and figure out what's really true. Woo! That's not, it's like, really? It's not true? I mean, first there's just this incomprehensible dismay that I lived however many years under abject dishonesty. And what does that mean about me? Is the first place I go. Maybe you're different. What is, and all of that is built into our socialization. If you have the book at home, I invite you to go back and just reread chapter 1 of the Four Agreements. He so brilliantly articulates how we are put to sleep in this thing we call the dream. That language, by definition, is part of the problem. Because we're using language that is established in meaning, which is established in the lie. That the whole system of communication is actually a system of indoctrination, that it's a system of reward and punishment. When we do what we're supposed to do, we get love, we get recognition, we get accolades. And when we step outside the box, we get punished to get us back in the box. Now, if you've been in science of mind for more than 5 minutes, you know we're not good at boxes. We're not. Or are we? We're not good at the boxes that other people try to put us in. But I think one of the things that we are still struggling with at a very unconscious level is that we are creating new boxes, but boxes nonetheless. That we still are operating from our should book. And as long as there's a should involved, there's a box. As long as I look at what somebody else does and I see it as needing to change, I have a box. Now, what I've noticed, and again, I'm willing to entertain that it's just me, but most of my new thought boxes don't involve me. They involve other people. I got out of my box, but man, I love to put everybody else in one. You're all nice, neat, tidy, and I have lots of boxes. Many of you are my age or older. Remember in the workplace we used to have those grids of mailboxes where employees and I have infinite boxes, walls within my consciousness of boxes, and I know just which one to put you in. I don't even need a Dewey Decimal System. It's like automatic. You go there, you go there. It's instant. And if I refuse to take ownership of that, I can't change it. Now the hard part that I find of taking ownership is that it comes with some feelings. And I'm conditioned that first feeling is guilt, shame, and blame. And if you think guilt, shame, and blame are separate feelings, they're all just different versions of the same thing. And how would it be if we simply met those things within us with a simple, didn't see that. If we just met it with that level of kindness and objectivity, that wow, I got a lot of boxes. And I say I love people, and yet I tuck them away in little boxes without ever finding out if what I think about you is true. I think that's probably the lethal part of it, is that we operate with one another from this place of contempt prior to investigation. How would it be? I mean, there's these new commercials on right now, maybe you guys have seen them, where people actually come up and say, the woman comes to the door with a pie, and the person's, answering the door, and they're articulating what they're actually thinking. I don't really need a pie, but would you like to come into my house and snoop around? Oh, absolutely, because that's what I'm really here to do. What would it be like if we lived in that level of integrity with one another? How would it change our relationships and our world if we mustered the courage to be with one another and say, when I hear your accent, I have this whole tape running in my head. Can I explore that with you to see if any of it's true? What would that be? I can tell you, having one of the accents when I'm not paying attention or I'm really relaxed, my accent is real Southern. And a whole lot of you think instantly, well, he's stupid. Because that's what happens with a Southern accent. Is that there is a significant belief that people from the South are just stupid hillbillies. Truth be told, we prefer you think of us that way. We do. If we're telling the truth, we prefer it. We have a phrase in my country. I call it my country because it feels like a different country sometimes. Called country dumb. And we've been known to use that as an asset. Because if you assume that I'm stupid, and I'm not, who has the upper hand? I do. That's a whole nother level. Because if I know it's happening and I consciously use it, am I not perpetuating the problem to my own benefit? Well, being really honest, I am. This honesty thing, it takes away manipulation. It takes away guilt and shame. It pretty much takes away everything except the thing that most of us, if we're being honest, don't really want to play with, and that's called responsibility. We're not taught to celebrate that we're responsible. We're not. We grow up listening to our parents blame their parents, which teaches us to blame our parents. Our kids grow up blaming us because they grow up hearing us blame our parents, and then we wonder, why are you blaming me? Because we taught them to. This is all generational, it's all systematic. And so if we are going to be one out of many, we have to stop living in separation. See, out of many, one, which is really a spiritual call to wake up. It's a spiritual call to wake up. To recognize that everybody we encounter, everybody that we look at, we're one with. I hear a lot of people on both sides of the aisle right now politically. And honestly, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I want to have a conversation with you. Because I want to know what you believe. I want to know who you are. I want to engage in an honest, transparent, loving dialogue, because I know that is the only place where oneness lives. As long as we are in divided camps, lobbing insults at one another, we are participating in the problem. Shortly after the election, I was in that place of not my president. Well, the truth is, he is my president because I'm a citizen of this country. I may want a different president, but that doesn't make him not my president. See, and when I go there, I'm participating in the problem, because what I'm participating in is division. I'm saying, he, him, that guy is not a part of me. And there ain't a word of truth in it. Not a word. How would our experience be different if we told the truth? I am really uncomfortable with how this election played out. I was operating under a tremendous amount of assumptions, and my assumptions gave me this really nice, warm, fuzzy comfort zone. And when it didn't go my way, I was shocked. And when it didn't go my way, I was angry. And when it didn't go my way, I looked for other people to blame, because I'm not really good at not getting my own way. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think so, because I'm just not that unique. Part of my job doing these talks is to make the message relevant from the individual to the community to the global. We say our mission for Centers for Spiritual Living is a world that works for everyone. And nationalism doesn't really include everyone. Not really. If we want to be the greatest country, that's predicated on everybody else being subjugated in some way to the supremacy that we have established. How does that create a world that works for everyone? Only if we are God, and I don't think we are as a country. All of God is within every individual. I don't care what country you call home. Other countries, even ISIS, there is no less God in every member of ISIS than there is in every one of us. And the only way that we are going to create a world that works for every one of us is when we become willing to sit in the discomfort and the honesty of examining our own beliefs to the degree that we can look into the eyes of some terrorist and feel and know love. That's freedom. That's freedom. One of the other things that Gerald May, who wrote this book, talks about, actually, that's a mix-up. Dr. Frazier, who is teaching spiritual psychology for Holmes Institute, he talks about the greatest prison there is the one in which everybody thinks they're free. That is the most effective prison, is the one that the prisoners are in, and they don't even know they're in prison. They think they're free. And that has been rolling around in me in relationship to Independence Day ever since I read it. Because as a nation, we think we're free. And I think we're prisoners. I think if we get really raw and let ourselves feel, I think we're prisoners of our own making in a very limited experience that we call freedom. Because it excludes the face of God that doesn't look like us, that doesn't talk like us, that doesn't believe like us. And I see no freedom in that. I see oppression in that. When I read what he wrote about establishing a new state of oppression, there was a resonance that knew that was true. I didn't want to know it was true. I wanted it to be different. I argued in my mind. And the more I argued, the more evidence I found to substantiate the truth of it. There are a lot of people in our country this week, citizens of our country this week, who are challenged to celebrate the independence of this country that did everything possible to annihilate their people and enslave their people. Because that's what Independence Day means to them. And are we willing to sit with that truth? Are we willing to bring that tenderness into one? Are we really willing to bring all people into oneness? E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. I don't know what the Latin is But I would love to see it change to out of all, one. I don't want many. I want all. I really am insane enough to believe with every fiber of my being in a world that works for everyone. Not where we all get our own way. That's not what we're talking about. Because there's too many things that, really, think about it. If you, throughout your lifetime, got your own way about everything, what would your life look like? Right? Not so pretty. Years ago, I think I was still back in undergraduate, somebody said, I hope you get every wish you've ever made comes true. And I heard that. I really heard it, and I went, oh, good Lord, no. Because I know about some of the ridiculous things I've wished for. Fleeting, oftentimes anger-based. But think about it. If everything that went through our mind as a wish came true, no thank you. So bringing that here into the community, we are a microcosm. And if we bring our own personal agendas to the microcosm, we can't have true community. We will have a divided community. We will have a community who is wrestling with their own personal agenda that may not be divided as nice and neatly as red and blue states, but is nonetheless in opposition. If we set up mental camps within Mountainside Center for Spiritual Living, and our agenda is to convince, to control, or to effect a coup of the other side, we are participating in the same divisiveness of the macro level at the micro. Now we all know what we're doing and what we're not doing. So I'm not even going to go there. Here's the solution. Is to get beyond our own personal agenda, to go to that center of our being where only truth resides, that has no agenda, that it is only love. And ask that. What does it want to express? I had the image last night. I was talking to Deborah about my talk for the day because, bless her heart, she is oftentimes subjected to numerous versions of my talk throughout the week. And I got this image of myself as a chauffeur in human form, that I am the chauffeur for my spirit. I have myself a little cab. That's really, the human me is simply a chauffeur for my spirit. And how would it be? Because see, we flip that. How often do we say, we talk about Spirit's will for me, or Spirit is in service to us? That's incorrect. We are in service to Spirit. And when we put ourselves separate from the divine, we are operating out of integrity. Integrity being at one-ment wholeness. There is a part of every one of us that knows the truth. Are we willing to navigate the lies to get to it? do we exist? What is our purpose? So I've got a little exercise. You got those papers, Joanna? Joanna's going to be handing out blank pieces of paper. And I'm going to ask you to go inside, and this is intentionally done on short notice and surprise. There is no right, there is no wrong. There is simply whatever response is alive in you to the question that I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you to respond from an undefended, unfiltered place. To just go with the first thing. And I'm going to ask you to focus your attention in your solar plexus for the answer. Not your head. So everybody got paper and pen now? Anybody need a pen? Need one over here, Joe. You need a pen?
Where's the solar plexus?
Your solar plexus is right in here. It's that place that keeps you alive. When you have those gut feelings, it's that place. So I'm going to ask you to go within for a minute, and if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And really allow your focus to very quickly drop through the heart to that solar plexus area. And here's the question I want you to answer as quickly as it comes to you. The purpose, the reason for existence of the Mountainside Center for Spiritual Living is.
Can there be more than one answer?
Your paper, right? What you know. Why do we exist as a center? What is our purpose? Joe, if you can just get one of the offering baskets and have that available for folks to put their responses in. Again, there's no right or wrong. So when you have those, if you just drop them in the thankful basket. Fold it up and we'll come around and grab those. Thank you for your willingness to participate. Anybody else still got anything else? Here you go. front. You just need this basket. Right? You need this basket back for the offering. So I invite you, actually my charge to you, this is more than an invitation, my charge to each and every one of you, as we're in this holiday time, as we're in this recognition of America's independence, is to take some time to look in the eyes of one another. When you're out in the world, when you're in the grocery store, don't make it freaky and weird. Don't stop in front of a total stranger. Because that might not go over well. But really look at one another. Really look at people and listen. Are you one with them? Or have you separated yourself in some way? It can be economic, it can be race, it can be hair color, it can be body type. Probably the most guilty I am. I write fashion citations in my head all the time. I separate myself based on how you dress. Which, if you saw me in my own home, you would really get the depth of denial. Because I'm the guy who would put on this from the upper half for a conference call that involves my webcam. I'm in my boxers when they're out. But I got judgments about how you dress. I charge you to get honest and hold it lightly. Hold it lightly. Be kind to yourself. You didn't create the socialization you were born into. But in this faith tradition, we get to change it. That's the power of what we do. And so my charge to each and every one of you, get honest and get busy changing this to create a world that does work for everyone. Let's celebrate that. Divine light, infinite oneness. The all of creation, knowing itself, being itself, expressing itself as the totality. Expressing itself out of many, one. It is the one within the many. It is the many as the one. All that it is, all the love, all the peace, all the power, all of the intelligence, the very heart of God itself, by whatever name we call it, whether we call it Buddha or Allah or God or Great Spirit, it's the same thing. Out of many, one. And so in this moment, I celebrate my oneness. I celebrate that place within me that knows the truth. That I have always been one with all life. That it can be no other way. And anything to the contrary has got to go. It's got to go. And so I call it what it is. As our founder, Ernest Holmes, says, to look a fact in the face and call it a liar, and then stand in the truth of what is. And so in this moment, I stand in the truth of oneness, acknowledging that any form of separation is a lie, and it has no place in our being. That any form of supremacy is a lie, and it has no place in oneness. In oneness, there is no other. There is simply one. I stand in the realization of truth. And I refuse to be confused. I refuse to be swayed by the comfort of this human experience. And I stand in the courage and the clarity of the divinity within me to speak truth, no matter what. No matter what. To listen deeply, to feel deeply for that resonance that knows that it knows because it knows, it recognizes itself. That is where truth lives. And that is where I choose to live from and choose to live as. And as I speak my word for all of creation, because there is only one of us here. So what I speak for this form, I speak for all forms. This is how we heal. This is how we reveal what is true. So in this moment, I am moved to gratitude. I feel my heart expanding within this physical being, celebrating truth, celebrating oneness. That I will set off fireworks for. That I will wave a flag for. Grateful for this opportunity to serve. Grateful for the opportunity to be that hollow bone through which spirit reveals itself. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so feeling complete, knowing that the words have already been responded to. Yes, so they are no longer needed. I release. I let go. And I go about the business of living that which I have spoken. And I invite you, if any part of this prayer has resonated with you, if your intention is in alignment, that you join me in anchoring this prayer by saying, and so it is.